Hello, welcome to another podcast, Mark's Music Podcast. I hope you're really well. A very happy Sunday to you all. Tonight, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the number one ranking snooker player in Ireland at the moment. He's a professional snooker player, so I'm going to have him on in a moment. But thanks a million for coming on. He's a bit of background. He's won the British Open in 1999, uh, beating Anthony Hamilton 9-7. Yeah, so he's British champion back in 1999. So fair play. So I'm looking forward to having him on. Okay, so stay tuned. Uh, okay, you're very welcome along to the podcast, Fergal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to say, but big congratulations to you. I've just read up on a lot of stuff you've done over the last couple of years. Being British champion back in 1991, wasn't it? 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play, brilliant. And your highest rank in Ireland at the moment, your highest ranked snooker player in Ireland at the moment.
Yeah. Keep it going. I'm liking this.
Yeah, very good. Brilliant, yeah. But yeah, snooker's a big thing in my life. I've always loved watching snooker through the years,
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favourite match you've had or favourite tournament? I see you were in the World Cup back in '96 as well. Yourself and Ken Doherty.
Yeah.
And who else was 3 years in the
Stephen Murphy.
Yeah,
Stephen Murphy, another lad from Dublin as well.
Yeah, wow, brilliant.
Let's start with that. Yeah, that was a great time. We were up over in Thailand for about 17, 18 days because we're in groups. So
yeah,
we had to get out of our group first, and then we beat Canada in the quarterfinals, and then we beat England 10-9 in the semi-finals. When it went to 9-all, like we sent out one player, and obviously Ken was our captain. He played, and he actually beat Ronnie O'Sullivan that frame to put us into the final. And we were a good bit behind in the final against Scotland, but we kind of got back into it. But the end of they beat us 10-7. But I mean, that team was back in like '96. It was like Stephen Hendry, John Higgins, and Alan McManus. Like 3 of them were in the top 6 in the world. Whereas, Ken was top 16, but I was probably ranked about 50, and Stephen Murphy was ranked about 60. So that was a great tournament. I write that one.
Yeah, brilliant.
That team event. But then my favourite tournament is obviously the one I won. The British Open in 1999. So I've been in a few other finals, but didn't win them. They were good as well, but obviously you remember the one you win the most.
Yeah, big time. And you were so lucky not to get to the Masters this time as well. You were in a playoff, was it, or
for the World Championships gone?
Yeah.
That's what I lost 10-9 to Liang Wenbo to qualify for the Crucible.
Right. Yeah.
But the match before that, I won 6-5 against Luca Brissell, and if I had lost that match, I would have been off the tour, and I would have had to go to Q School to try and get back onto the tour. So obviously, to lose 10-9 to qualify was disappointing, but it was more important that I won the match before, because that obviously keeps me on the tour for at least another 2 years.
Brilliant. And do you want to tell people who's listening your nickname?
Well, a few of them, I think. I used to be the baby face assassin. But I'm probably not as baby face as I was, but it tends to be more used as fearless now. So fearless Fergal O'Brien. There's probably a few other courses as well I don't know about, but they're the 2 I know of.
Yeah, and I'd say you missed a club up in Lucan there. The snooker club that what was the name of it again? The well-known. Raphael's great. It was a great place, wasn't it? Great hall.
Yeah, it was great. I still the owners, the Hemrick family, their daughter Elena that ran the club. I still friendly with her. So a couple of times a year, we either go to their house or they come to ours or for a bit of dinner. So still in good touch with them. And then Tommy Ennis, who ran the club as well. He still obviously lives in Lucan as well. So I see him go, but he was very, very good. So no, I was there for about 10 years. I've been very lucky in the clubs I played in. Even when I started off, I played in my first club was in Fairview. There used to be people with good memories. It was called Bill's, and it was down the lane. It was like real well, a bit of a kip really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I used to start going there with my dad, and
Mm,
then I started playing in Langans and Capel Street.
mm.
And then more or less the time I turned professional, I was playing in a Q's Snooker Club in Clondalkin.
Yeah, that's right beside me.
Yeah,
That's just down the road from me. Yeah.
yeah, great club. And the owner of that, Pat Larnahan, he lives actually a couple of doors away from the club in Selvage. But he was very good to me. When I first turned pro, he sponsored me for 3 years, so I had money to go to England.
Very
So
good.
I would have never done as well if I hadn't been in England. And then obviously from there, I moved to Lucan. And then obviously that closed down in 2008. And again, I've been very lucky again. I'm playing up in Selvage since then. So Phil Martin there and everybody else has been really, really good to me. So I've been in great clubs. I was sad to leave them all at different times, but I was very lucky that the next club I went to was equally as good.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Because I remember Jason's and Ranelagh where Ken Doherty
Yeah,
was. I used to play in there a bit years ago as well. Yeah, it was a nice club, and he has got a good club up outside Brady's in Terranure now. You know that place.
yeah. I've been in there, but he has his practice table is in the Radisson Hotel in Stillorgan.
Okay.
So I was there when he opened the club. I was there in the club for the opening. But every time I practiced with him since Jason's closed, I always go to the hotel Radisson in Stillorgan. That's his table. He has his table in a beautiful room with like loads of memorabilia and signed football jerseys and trophies and photographs. So he's a brilliant room there. So that's
Yeah.
where he plays out of now.
Mm. And yeah, very good. And who was your trickiest opponent you ever played against? Do you think?
O'Sullivan,
Oh
Ronnie
yeah,
O'Sullivan
yeah.
is the best. But I suppose I played, well, I didn't play Davis in the 80s when he was at his pomp. I played him early 90s when he was still, more or less number 2 in the world. But
Yeah.
obviously I played Henry in his peak during the 90s.
Mm.
And also there's been others played, the John Higgins, Mark Williams, that kind of. But O'Sullivan is the best.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
he's closing in on Henry's record, but he's got every other record he already has. But
Mm.
plus how good he is, but also how easy he makes it look as
Yeah,
well. But he's
yeah.
definitely no. Henry was phenomenal as well, but O'Sullivan is better.
Yeah, yeah. But getting back to your success, like in the World Cup back in '96, that must have been a phenomenal experience all the same, was it?
It was, yeah, because we're still fairly young, and we're still underdogs. Maybe hoped to get out of our group. But
Yeah,
as I said, then we beat Canada. It was like the Cliff Thorburn was still playing then.
yeah,
Obviously, then in the English team was Ronnie O'Sullivan, Peter
yeah.
Ebden, Nigel Bond. So that was a bit of an upset to beat them.
Wow,
And I
that was
said,
brilliant. Yeah, well done. That's great, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. But it felt like we were there about 17, 18 days, but it felt like longer. And then a
Yeah,
couple of other lads, Michael Judge, who was still like the sub on the team, and Ken's pal, Finbar Rowan, who runs the snooker club in Crossguns. And he was there as well. So it was just great crack playing. We were doing well,
yeah,
and then having the laugh each night and that. And that was a great time, all right.
yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. And then obviously the British champion as well back in 1999, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. A bit of
Yeah,
a story. The story to that there's kind of two parts to give you a bit of a backdrop to it. Well, a couple of weeks before, my grandfather had died. He was the one
oh,
when I was a kid of 8. I got an 8x4 snooker table for Christmas. Around
yeah,
that time, I think everybody got a 6x3 or 8x4 table for Christmas. So he
yeah.
used to play in that. He was a great supporter of me as well. And then a couple of weeks before that tournament was on, when the Ben Sanders Irish Masters used to be on,
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and each year the top 8 in the world, and they picked 4 wild cards. And I'd been picked before, but that year they picked Michael Judge again from Dublin. So look, Mick was and still is a great guy, and I get on very well with him. But I think I was ranked number 20 or so in the world, and he was ranked 60,
mm,
and he was given a wild card. So I remember being absolutely raging
yeah,
that he'd been picked and I hadn't, and kind of nearly even walking home from the club, kind of, I would say, preparing a speech in my head on the lines of like, here I am winning a tournament and I can't even be picked to play in my own tournament in Ireland, that kind of thing. So I was
yeah.
obviously pumped up, and this was 6 weeks beforehand. And funny if then the next tournament I played in, having not been even to a final before I won. So
Brilliant.
I don't know where
So you're breaking up a bit there, Fergal. Sorry, can you? Hello, Fergal. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sorry, sorry, you back,
Hello?
Fergal? Sorry, I
Yeah,
don't know
can you
what
hear
happened
me?
there.
I don't know either.
Yeah, sorry, I just lost you there. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. I think the internet went a bit funny there. Sorry, you were saying there. Sorry about that.
I don't know where was I rambling. What point was I said?
Oh, you were talking about the Benson and Hedges one. You got to the final that
Yes,
year as
that's
well.
okay. Yeah. Well, that's the saying. Yeah, I hadn't been given a wild card for the Irish Masters, and I said Michael Judge, who was ranked about 40
Yeah,
places below me. I hadn't been picked considering us higher ranked.
yeah,
So I was very determined going to that next tournament. And I don't know, a combination of being that extra determination and also then maybe my granddad passing away, just um, whatever for whatever reason, things seemed to go my way because there's a couple of times I could have easily lost
fair
and
play
managed
to
to
you.
win. So I don't know whether it's destiny or determination, but it was great, obviously, to win that.
Yeah, congratulations, great. And how does it feel to be ranked number one in Ireland at the moment? That's a great achievement as well.
Yeah, obviously, I think it's probably more so because even the last few years, myself and Ken have slipped down the ranking. So, there was a time when I was ranked number 9 in the world, but we'd say number 2 in Ireland because I think Ken was ranked number 7. So I'd rather be ranked in the top 10 in the world
Mm.
behind Ken than ranked 60. You know, rankings, and as I said, but Ken was ranked ahead of me. I'd prefer that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. And getting back to your earlier days as well, how did you get involved in snooker in the first place? Like I know you said about your granddad buying you the the snooker table. But where did it all begin? Where did all the magic begin?
The Magic Green, yeah. Well, I started watching. Obviously, I was watching it on the telly, and I think the Christmas I was 7, so this is maybe 1979 at this stage. I got a very small, like little tabletop table, and I used
Mm,
to play on that a good bit. So then the next year for Christmas, my grandparents bought me that 8x4 table. I
yeah,
remember they had it in their backyard, the garage out in the back garden, and to me, like it seemed absolutely huge.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I had that when so it literally went in the front, the front room of our house where the TV was.
mm,
The TV ended up going into another room. So that big room, we had enough room um, for it to fit. So that was, the main room of the house ended up being filled with the snooker table for about 8 years. So
yeah,
I was just playing that more or less day and night.
mm,
And then when I was probably about 12, my dad started taking me to the snooker club. He used to play on a Sunday morning to Bills in Fairview, as I was
oh,
saying. He used to start playing a little bit there and then started entering a couple of tournaments
mm,
and junior events. And then started playing in Langans and Capel Street, which is a very good club, and playing
yeah,
the leagues. Like, apart from the juniors, I was playing junior leagues for the Classic in Finglas,
yeah,
and I was playing in the men's leagues, Division 3, Division 2, and then eventually Division 1, up until, and obviously I was in school then until I was 18. I would have liked to have left after the Inter as it was in those days,
yeah.
but I had to stay on. Parents said you had to stay on to school. So it was somewhere in 1990, I did the leaving. And then the next year, I more or less moved over um, to England.
So you were fairly young when it all kicked off. Really, you were fairly young going over to England.
Yeah, I was 19 when I first went over to England. No, it was good when I first went over because Ken Doherty and Stephen Murphy and one or two other lads were there in the same club, and Eugene Hughes, who was more Eugene Hughes at the time, he was ranked in the top 20 in the world.
Right.
He'd been over in London for years, so he was kind of based in that club in Ilford in Essex.
Mm,
Ken and Stephen Murphy and a few of us followed, and then about a year or so later, myself and a few others followed on. So we more or less in the same area. We all had like places to stay. We were playing in the same club. So I was
Yeah.
sharing Stephen O'Connor, who was the world amateur champion at the time, and Tim Dunphy, who's actually Eamon Dunphy's son.
All right.
So the first time at Dover, so that was yeah, so that was great crack because again, we were so raw because even we were there for in that house for a couple of months before we started traveling to play the qualifiers. But like we were so raw, we went to Sainsbury's, which is about a 15-minute walk away. We just fill the trolley and we just take it home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Less food, we didn't bring the trolley back and all that thing. So, but that's how raw we are. And then the following year, so this is into '92. I went back over myself, and I was living in a house on my own for. I was probably about 9 months of the year. I was probably living in that house and coming back and forth a little piece. So that was tough enough if you're still 19, let's say, living on my own. Remember, living in a house in London, you'd still be quite nervous, nearly going to bed, and
Of course. Yeah.
if you heard any noises, you're a bit fearful. So
I know.
you could always kind of wake up in the morning, you're always a bit relieved. Nothing had went wrong. And then a couple of years after that, then I moved out of the house, and I used to stay in a B&B because that just made it easy. You didn't have to be worrying about, it was obviously more secure because you're
more safe. Yeah,
exactly, more safe. And also you didn't have to worry about then, cooking and cleaning and those kind of things as well. It was easier just, you just eat in the hotel or the club.
Yeah.
So it was a bit more security from that. And again, I was probably there for those next 4 or 5 years, 9 months of the year I'd lived in the UK, and I said came home in between. So
yeah, because at least you had a couple of people to go over it that were starting off with you. So it would have been for footballers when they're younger and they've gone over in apprenticeships, that must be a lot tougher,
Yeah, of course, they're going on their own. So it was massive me going up. Again, if they weren't there, you probably wouldn't even thought of going over. But the fact that Eugene Hughes was there, he was a really, really nice guy and very helpful. And then obviously Ken was a few years older than me. He'd been world amateur that time. So already you kind of looked up to him. So if he was in England, he felt if I want to make it as a pro, I have to go to England as well. Yeah. And so they're great. Those Timmy Dunphy and Stephen O'Connor were great lads. So apart from practicing with great people, I said we could home each night and watching videos as it was in the day and dinners and all. It was just great. It was just great crack. We practiced hard, but it was great to have the little bit of company as opposed to going, because playing snooker is actually the easy bit. It's the traveling, the loneliness, the defeats. That's really the hard part. But obviously, when we get a bit of company there, that made a massive difference.
Yeah. Because there's some amount of practice involved with snooker, isn't there? You have to practice a phenomenal amount of hours every day when you're before matches.
Yeah, and certainly then. So kind of when I was over in Ilford at that time for those few years, a typical day was you'd be in the club for 10 o'clock and you'd be playing other really good, put it in perspective. When I left as an amateur to go to England, I was the number 2 ranked player in Ireland.
Wow.
But when I went, I was probably the 10th best player in that one club in Essex.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I went from number 2 in the whole of Ireland to maybe number 10 in just one club. Such was the standard. So you'd be playing those people day in, day out. And it was more or less, because there was a lot of players, there was nearly winner stays on. So if I played somebody at 10 o'clock in the morning, the best of 7, and people the likes of Mark King, who's a pro now, and other really good players, if I got beaten, that was me more or less done for the day. I'd have to go down the hall and practice there. But obviously if you kept winning, you'd be playing till 5 or so. So on a good day, you'd be playing people from 10 till 5 or 6. And many times I'd stop, have a bit of dinner, and I'd play again on my own for 3 hours from 6 till 9, go back, be in bed for 10 o'clock, up again the next day, 10 till 5 playing. So just playing so much, it was perfect, as in I was playing people who were probably even a bit better than me, so my standard improved. And also then I was putting a lot of time on my own to practice the stuff that needed to be. So doing that consistently, if you're anyway good, you couldn't help but improve. So that was I would have never done as well if I'd have stayed in Ireland, because as I said, I would have been, number 2 in Ireland playing other people. Whereas when I go to England, they were just that little bit better. Like Ronnie, even when I went there, Ronnie O'Sullivan was only maybe 16 and he was still, he was phenomenal then. And I said, Ken was, again, when I first go and play Ken, he beat you 5-0. Like if he beat 5-1, you were happy enough because you know you took a frame off him. You know, because he was a few years ahead, and such was his standard. So, you know, it was great. I was so enthusiastic. You know, playing all the time, a good company with the Irish lads as well. So, no, they were great times.
Oh,
Hard as in, you know, you're way away from home, but the sacrifice from family and, you know, girlfriend and all, it was the blow was softened by having that bit of company and the Irish lads around. And again, even each day in the club, it's 7 or 8 lads to be bouncing off as well. So
yeah. And do you know, like for instance, I've been listening to a lot of talk over the years there to do with snooker, sports psychology, Fergal. Like, what's your feeling on that? Like, it seems to help a lot of players in every kind of sport, and including snooker. You know, it's something that you've been taking an interest in, or?
Oh yeah, massively. You know, I think snooker is probably slower than other sports to kind of, I would say, latch onto sports psychology and the benefits of it. I kind of, the best way I would describe it, if you had 20 years ago and you had a golfer in your club and you heard he was getting coaching, you know, you nearly would have been fearful of him because he was getting coaching. And whereas snooker, if somebody 20 years ago had a coach, you'd nearly be laughing at them as in like, geez, would you look at this gobshite with his coach? And that's just obviously, and that's just even the technical stuff, let alone actually obviously the mental side. And probably obviously sports psychology helps in every sport, but I can't think of too many sports that help more than snooker because firstly you've so much time to think when you're in the chair, but also even when you're playing, you know, it's not like other sports like tennis or football where you have to react. You know, the ball won't move until you hit it. So it's just so much thinking time that's very important. So over the course of the years, I've talked to people, read, you know, probably 50, 60 books on the psychology. And even to this day, you're still trying to learn and, you know, particularly maybe if you're under pressure, how to handle that a little bit better. You know, the psychology, like if I was starting off again, or I was coaching a young player of 18, I'd be like, look, start working with a sports psychologist, see him once a month in the same way you'd see a coach once a month. I'd have him, you know, speaking to a nutritionist starting off, following a good diet. I'd have him running 3, 4, 5 times a week, which again, that was just unheard, you know, because again, if you think of the classic 80s, you know, the Alex Higgins, chain smoking, Bill Werben, pint. You know, you can imagine then telling Alex Higgins, would he not get fit or have a sports psychologist? You know, you'd probably get punched for your troubles.
But what a great player as well. Sorry, Alex Higgins, what a great player
phenomenal.
As well.
Yeah, brilliant. And as a kid, you know, I loved him. Obviously, when he won the World Championships again in 1982, I was only 10. So I went upstairs and made a big poster, Alex Higgins, world champion and all. So, you know, obviously, when I was older and turned pro, I got to meet him. So there was 1 or 2 times he wasn't, let's say, the best of company. But I mean, his talent and his appeal, his box office appeal, you know, particularly in the 80s, along with, we'd say, the colour TV, Pot Black, and Alex Higgins, they were massive in the development of the game.
Big time, yeah. And what would you reckon the best part of the sports psychology, in your opinion, is? What aspect is it do you find the best? Like, you know, that would have helped you along.
I think the main thing, and it's funny with snooker, it's taken me a long time to understand it. But the more, it probably applies to all sports, particularly snooker. The more you want to win at snooker, the less you have to think about winning. And explain this, it's not so much because when you're playing your very, very best, I'm not thinking about winning. My mind is just literally totally engrossed in the process. So it's literally pot the red, pot the black, pot the red, pot the black. So all those kind of one shot at a time, stay in the present, ball for ball. That's basically the essence of the game, or you know, focusing on the process rather than the result.
Very good.
And again, anytime I've ever played my best, you know, I just totally focused on the process. I was totally engrossed, like in the zone, as they say, totally engrossed in that. So even if I look back at the match and I see myself playing really well, I have no idea what I was actually thinking at the time. Such was my kind of like pure concentration. So that's the tricky part with snooker. You effectively, kind of maybe give up control to gain control, or it's like, using a golf analogy, you have a 10-foot putt to win the Masters, and you've always wanted to win the Masters because it's so important.
Yeah.
And normally you might take 2 practice strokes, but because this is to win the Masters, I want to be doubly sure I don't have any regrets. So now you take 4 practice strokes because you really want to, and you're doing something now under pressure you would normally do. Whereas, as hard as it's to understand, you try and do what you do in practice, 2 practice strokes, and then hit a good putt as you can, or, cue the shot as well as you can. And that's all you can do. That kind of control, that you can't actually control the result. You can control the process, playing as well as you can, and then hopefully on the day that's enough. So I have struggled with that. It's just an ongoing battle, that you're trying to have your mind in the right place and totally just concentrate on the job in hand, and the result will take care of itself. But it's much easier said than done.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Yeah, fair. Thanks for explaining that for the listeners. And
I'll try to explain it.
Yeah, very good. No, even like, for
instance,
instance,
or somebody they drive in the car, and they go, and 2 hours later they're in Galway or something, and they don't even know how they got there. They've been driving the car, listening to the radio, on the phone, giving 2 fingers to some other path, and they weren't even aware of it. They're totally just engrossed. Whereas if you actually if they were like a learner starting to talk themselves through how to drive, consciously, you wouldn't get out of the driveway. So it's that, in that kind of like flow, you're nearly unconsciously doing it because you've trained it so much, and it's now so good. Subconsciously, you know what to do, and nearly getting yourself out of the way and just doing what you can. What you can do is, trying to explain it as well.
Yeah, excellent, Fergal. Excellent. So you're interested in the running as well. You're in Lucan Harriers, is it?
Yeah, Lucan Harriers again. I joined that probably about 12 years ago. The coach in the club, Colin O'Connor, was like a bit of a character. He'd been in my dad's shop a few times. You gotta get him up to the club. It'd be great for him. So eventually my dad was like, "We'll never ring this fella. He's annoying me." So from that, I got in touch with him, and I have to say, I wish I'd have done it years ago, because even when I first moved to Lucan, my house was literally just 2 minutes walk past the running track. And of course, I never ran or anything. But so doing that's been brilliant. So Tuesdays, Thursday nights, and Sunday mornings, we train together, and then I try and get it maybe once or twice myself. But it's been massive for obviously keeping the weight off, but obviously then
and it helps your snooker game, helps your snooker game, as you're saying.
With regard to having more stamina. So if you're tired, or maybe playing long matches, didn't get much sleep, or you've been traveling to China, obviously the fitter you are, that's easy then if you're going to recover, and also then it helps your concentration. That instead of maybe getting tired after 4 hours, I can probably practice the 6 hours and probably keep my concentration as good as what it was at the start of the day. And then also just the social side as well, because again, if I'm in the club from 10 till 5 o'clock every day, most of the time you're on your own, you hardly talk to anybody. It's great for me then at 7 o'clock at night when I go out with out running with the lads, and they've probably saying, "Geez, you're yapping loads," or they're talking loads. I'm always slagging somebody or getting slagged. But so you have to remember, I haven't talked to anybody all day,
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, and again, even doing the sessions, if you were doing like this morning with met up with the lads, we ran out an hour this morning. Like if I was doing that on my own, that'd be hard work. But if you're with 5 or 6 lads or a couple of girls, there's great conversation and chat. I'm so fit now that I can run for an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah,
and it's just you might as well be sitting around the table having a chat. The social side of it as well has been excellent. So I totally recommend it to anybody. A, get out running, and B, if you join your local running club, to get fitter, and then the social side of it is fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's even great for people that are taking up the snooker and they're very interested in it. Like, to be able to put that side to it as well, like to run along, to make it, as you say, give you yourself more strength. When you're playing the game, and more, to keep yourself more focused. That can help that as well.
Oh yeah, massively. But even I suppose if you just take it on just the basics, if you're stuck in the club all day, you're not even getting any fresh air. Yeah. And I said you're probably on your own. So most snooker players are quite pasty, white and pasty because we're stuck indoors. So firstly, you're getting fresh air. You know, obviously, look, snooker's not the most physical sport in the world at all, but you don't necessarily need to be fit to, you know, bend down and play the games. But if you want to practice for a long time, and also then if you're doing a lot of traveling and other demands and maybe not sleeping so great because of the nerves or whatever, obviously the fitter you are is an advantage. And basically, the level I'm kind of at now, you know, and for most players, because more or less we're all at the same level, we can more or less all play the same shots. But you know, more or less tell people I basically concentrate for a living, you know. And if there's one thing, if we come into the new season, if there's one thing I'd love more than anything, it would be to have great concentration. And I keep in my mind totally focused on the shot in hand and not thinking about what I did last week, what I'm going to have for dinner, the next shot I'm going to play, what the score will be, who will I play next round, what are the crowd thinking, what are people watching on TV thinking, you know.
Just focus on the game.
Yeah, exactly. And on a good day, you know, you can do that, but obviously that's very difficult to do. So that's what you're always trying to do, have that concentration and just literally keep your mind focused on that one shot in hand.
Because I was always fascinated. Like I play a bit of snooker. Like I wouldn't be that good. Like, but I've always played a good bit, you know. But like to be able to track the shots, like that's just great. Like it's a great skill to have. Like you know, you know. And did that? I said I took a lot of practice. Did it to get so natural at it? Is it Fergal? It takes a lot of kind of practice.
I said a lot of practice. So obviously, you know, from probably at the age of 14, I decided, you know, I wanted to be a professional snooker player. I said I stayed in school till I was 18. So just constantly building up the hours. And, you know, if there's that theory that you know, you need to play 10,000 hours of anything. You want to be a great piano player, tennis player, snooker player, you have to do it for 10,000 hours, you know, as a guide. Obviously it has to be quality practice. It's not just, you know, hitting balls aimlessly. But so if that's 10,000, I've easily, if that's 10,000 hours, I'm probably 20,000 more or so I've done. So as I said, you can more or less do it and more or less play all the shots. It's just your own fears, expectations, pressure, concentration, or mind that prevent you playing the way you would like to play, you know, more often. But initially you need that training so you get very, very good. But once you're at the professional level, I said it's then really the mental side is the big deciding factor. Your mental side and also your emotions.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, because like even I'm a bit of a runner myself. I do a bit of marathons, few marathons and half marathons, you know. And like you know, for instance, the sports psychology comes into effect a bit there as well. Did you find that, like for instance, I was listening to a bit of it before, and they were saying that when you're running, you kind of think of everything as a actual race, if you get me. So like when you're doing the actual race, then it won't feel alien to you. So you'll kind of perform the same way as the practice, you know. Did you ever hear that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Preparing, so that'll be even in the snooker side. Like if you're playing from practicing with Ken Doherty, we treat it the same. So we might play, you know, best of 9 for 20 quid or something. But I mean, the phones aren't on. We could easily play for hours and not say a word to each other until we stop for lunchtime. So exactly that, we've treated it like a match. We're not doing anything. We're putting the same concentration and effort in the practice match like you would in a term. So as you said, so when it comes to a match, you know, you're better prepared. And even with the running club, I was saying, so obviously you meet up and you're doing your warm up and your stretches and there's great laugh and chat. But once the session starts, and we're going to do 12 laps of the track, there's not a word spoken in between, you know, because even in between the laps, you know, you're trying to get your breathing back. But I said, even at that level, you know, and I would be just very much a club runner. It's still, when you're racing or doing the session, we're doing the session, there's no talking. And it's for that reason, because you're not just training your body, but you're training your mind. So when it comes to a race and you're under pressure, you can go, well, look, last Thursday running with the lads, it was a tough session and I dug in and got through it. And it's the same, as opposed to just on the day of the race, thinking everything's going to fall into place.
Yeah, brilliant.
What's your best time? What did you do the marathon in? What time did you do the marathon?
I did the last marathon I did was just under 4 hours, 3:55 or something. So I was happy with
Very
that.
good. Went to half marathon.
Half marathon, I think, is the best. Is probably 2 hours.
Very good. No,
Yeah,
I said
yeah,
I haven't done. I think
yeah.
the longest race I did was about, I think it was a 10K. I've tended to do a good lot of 5K. I haven't never done the marathon, mainly because I am, well, apart from I might be away at the Dublin one, I might be away, but also
Yeah.
to give it those couple of months before, to give it those extra hours and those 2, 3, 4 hour runs you're doing, your 18, 20, 22 miles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
that commitment, but
I know.
I would love it. So on my bucket list is to do a marathon, and if you offered me to do it in under 4 hours, I'd bite your hand off. So that's serious running.
Yeah, cheers,
Well
Fergal.
done.
No, but yeah, I was gonna say yeah, because I think the BHA races are good. If you know the BHA races, like the company
Yeah, yeah,
races.
I've done a few of them. Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because actually,
very
I
good.
saw
Very
you in
good.
the Garda Club now and again. Maybe a few of them. The Garda Club race in September. They
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's a tough one,
I was the fella. I was the fella with the red face, breathing hard.
I was behind you. I was the same. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, yeah. So like, well done on all your achievements. Like,
Thank you.
brilliant. And I remember a couple of years ago you came into the job into the Dublin City
Yeah,
Council to
yeah.
do Martin set it up. Was it the biodiversity one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So we different group. It was we had 2 snooker tables and a couple of pool tables.
Yeah,
So diversity. Yeah. So you had different people from all different parts of the community in Dublin. So obviously, you boys and girls schools, you people with special needs, disabilities, wheelchair. So that was a great day, and
it's a great day. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, we're really good, and just kind of plus before, as I said, my manager Martin Daly, he works for Dublin City Council, so he'd organised before for me to go around to some of the clubs in Dublin as well. So maybe like played in a cross country, so like one of the senior citizens group, like one of the shed groups, played with them. Went to 1 or 2 schools, played with them. So just trying to, we say spread snooker around a little bit more, maybe to
brilliant.
different communities rather than just to play it now, because it's such a good social game, and
It really is. Yeah.
you know
Yeah, because that was a great day. I remember Michael Carruth was in there with the boxing glove taking a shot. Do you remember that?
yeah, exactly. He was a great guy. He was in playing with Ken, so it was great because literally it was myself, Ken Doherty, Joe Delaney, and Michael Judge, all Dublin professionals from Dublin. And so there was loads of people there watching. So for the whole day, it was great. I said, and some people were playing snooker maybe for the first time, or as I said, different communities, all different backgrounds came in. So it was great.
It was really good because it was great. I got the opportunity to play a game against Ken. I think I might give you a game like I got a
Did you beat
147.
him?
I got a 147 in that one. Yeah, right. Then I woke up.
and then you knocked out Michael Carruth as well, probably, did you?
Yeah, yeah. But
You had a great day.
what a great day, yeah. But yeah. So is there anything else I haven't asked you that you'd like to say on the podcast, Fergal? Like maybe a bit of voice to people about snooker, like being a professional, any kind of advice you could give to younger players.
Yeah, well, I suppose the advice you give to if you want to be a good snooker player, you want to be, a great anything. It's just like basically it just starts at what are you prepared to do, what do you want, and what are you prepared to do, and it's as simple as that. And if you put because again, from me, certainly when I was a young player, 14, 15, 16, there was definitely better players, more talented players than I was. At 15 or 16, you wouldn't have necessarily looked at me and says, "Oh, that guy will definitely make it." For example, at 16, Ken Doherty was Irish amateur champion, so his standard was phenomenal. But at my level, I never won an under 16 title, never won an under 18 or under 19 Irish championships, which other players did. But I had that hunger, and that I was prepared to work. So eventually, in time, the people that were better than me at 17, by the time I was 19, 20, I was better. I'd become better than them. Just through sheer work. If they were playing 4 hours, I was playing 6 hours. I didn't drink. I was going to bed early. I was doing all those things right. So eventually, so obviously you need a level of talent obviously it wasn't like I was terrible. And if I had put the same hours in a different sport, I wouldn't have made it as professional because I didn't have that initial talent. But
Yeah.
at a certain level, in your chosen sport, everybody's got talent. That's cheap as chips. And from there, then this dividing factor is going to be the work you put in, the preparation, literally what you want and what are you prepared to do. And basically, if there's people better than you, just outwork them. That'd be, that's kind of served me well. That still applies. It's just,
What a great story, Fergal. Fair play to you. Yeah. Great
as I
story
said,
there. Like, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, as I only said to somebody, there recently, I said, look, young fella playing, I said, look, when you wake up in the morning, you've had a nice sleep. I said, but just remember, some 12-year-old in China was practicing for 8 hours while you were asleep, and he might already be, and at 12, he might already be better than you. So apart from, a young player wants to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan and become world champion, he won't be around forever, but the next influx of young players, not just from Ireland and Britain, but from China. So are you practicing more than them? Are you prepared to practice more? Are you prepared maybe to move to England like I did or Ken Doherty did, to live away from home for years, to practice with the right people, to play in the tournaments, to get the coaching, to get fit, to have a good diet, and so on, so on, so on. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, great story. Like, because while you're saying that, don't remember watching Michael Jordan is kind of the similar kind of thing. He was the player he turned out to be, but he was a bit lower power back in the day. So he had to practice and practice and practice to get made picked for the team. And look what happened to him, Yeah, and as you said, he has that talent in the background, but he had to work harder than everybody else. Like, when people were out chilling out, he was practicing all the time, like, and look where that got him. So that's a great story, Fergal,
Yeah, no, look, I'm loving the Michael Jordan comparison.
No.
I don't think my name and Michael Jordan's have been put in the same sentence, but I'm loving it. Did you watch the Last Dance?
Yeah, I've watched. I have to finish it. It's very good, isn't it?
Oh, phenomenal! That's what I'm saying. God, I actually watched it twice. I watched it, in drips and drabs, and then I spent a day. A pal of mine came over, and we spent the day watching all 10 episodes.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
But again. Exactly, and as you were saying, if you could give young advice to a young person in any sport, I'd say, look, watch that Last Dance for 10 days, because everybody would know about Michael Jordan and how great he was, and he was the best basketball player ever, and maybe the best sportsman ever. But it's only when you watch that, yes, he had a lot of talent, yes, he was tall, but there was bigger people taller than him. But his work ethic, his will to win, his desire, phenomenal. So he paid the price. So what he prepared to do, he was prepared to do whatever it took, no matter who got upset or who he beat to get it. And that's, watch the Last Dance. That's the advice you give to young who wants to be successful in anything.
Brilliant, yeah. It's like, remember Scottie Pippen? He got a bit of a raw deal, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought they were a little bit harsh on him in that bit, in that as well, because he was so good as well. Obviously, he won the 6 championships with Michael Jordan. And, okay, he did 1 or 2 things wrong, but I thought they could have treated him a little bit more kind of, because he was phenomenal.
Yeah, I was brilliant. And come here, do you think, in your own opinion, that the way soccer is crazy money they get paid in soccer, like off the wall? Who needs that kind of money? But in comparison to snooker terms, do you think there should be more money involved? I don't know. I'm not being personal on that. Whatever. But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, obviously you're never going to turn the money down. You'd like to pay it as much as possible, and certainly I think in the mid '80s, the European Tour, Golf Tour, was worth the same as the World Snooker Tour. And obviously, if you take it nowadays, the World Snooker Tour is probably worth 15 million. The European Tour has to be over 100 million. So it didn't progress the way it should have, mainly because poor management. And there used to be ex-snooker players effectively running the game. And again, what business acumen or intelligence even they would have would be very, very minimal. So once the tobacco sponsorship snooker went downhill. And it's only in the last certainly 5 to 10 years, Barry Hearn took over the snooker again. And it's went up. So 10 years ago, we had 6 tournaments playing for 4 million. Now we've nearly, about 25 tournaments playing for 15 million. So the last 5-10 years been great. And if you're, no matter what age you are, but as a snooker player, we've never had it so good. So many tournaments and so much earning potential. However, if you take Ronnie O'Sullivan, he got his previous payday biggest payday was 250,000. So we got $500,000 for winning the World Championships there last week. So $500,000 is obviously phenomenal money, and most people that work in normal 9 to 5, could take them 10 years, we'd say, to earn that.
It only takes me 2 years, but it's okay.
That's
only 2 years. Not
However, when you have people like Sanchez stinking the place out at Old Trafford and earning $500,000 a week, or Jesse Lingard on $100,000 a week, you know what I mean? So the snooker, the money has gone up, but it still has a lot to go. Look, it's never going to be in football terms, such as the popularity of football, but certainly it could improve more and close the gap, certainly to the likes of golf and that. But it in the last 5 or 10 years it has, and if that continues, you'll see winning the World Championship, you'll get £1 million. Winning a normal tournament, you get 200,000 instead of 60 or 70 now. So it's made great progress, but more progress can be made. Because I think it's just been badly run, because it's a great sport, and this World Championships again proved how good it is. And even without the crowds, the tension and atmosphere, it's just a great compelling sport.
Brilliant, yeah. And it was good the way they had the crowds kind of back to some capacity at the end there, wasn't it? Like the final they had.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, good for the final. As I said, I thought it was going to be. I was a bit unsure what it was going to be like on the TV, not having any crowd, but it didn't make any difference. I said that it was still very, very entertaining. For the final, certainly for such a showcase event, for players to be introduced, and then obviously, particularly if they're getting their prizes, to have the crowd there definitely adds to the atmosphere.
Big time,
so,
big time.
Yeah, like in an ideal world, of course, you would have that crowd. However, when there was no crowd, it still made for great TV. You didn't actually miss the crowd as much as you would think.
Yeah. Dennis Taylor, some player as well. That was great fun when he won it that year, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was the magic 85. Yeah. I can remember that. Like as everybody can, like probably like sitting on the couch with my mum.
Yeah.
And we weren't Steve Davis fans. We were Alex Higgins fans, but we certainly didn't like Steve Davis. So literally sitting us on the couch, and when he was playing, going miss.
Yeah.
And then gone mad. Yeah. We thought by shouting at the telly we could control the result. But and obviously then it went to the black ball and Dennis, and that was when snooker was. I think that year then, snooker clubs were opening everywhere.
Yeah.
And
so that's right. Yeah.
I lived in Bayside. There was a club in Bayside. There was a club at Baldoyle. There was a club in Kilbarrack.
Yeah.
And then I could walk through about 4 different clubs. Raheny had a couple. Fairview had a couple. Harmonstown. They were just literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And it just exploded. And I said, I think that Christmas, nearly everybody in Dublin, or in Ireland of an age, got a 6x3 table.
Yeah.
Like, and to be in the kitchen, you'd have to have a short queue because you'd be up against the wall. And you could have like 8 or 10 lads on the road playing.
Who put that wall there?
Yeah, it's like you would have the short half a queue, holes in the wall. Brilliant.
Crack, yeah.
Balls flying off, smashing. Like I hear loud size of fellas playing them, smashing the kitchen window because they'd be smashing balls off the cushion.
Brilliant, yeah. Yeah, because I remember I was telling you before that my granny, we used to watch it with my granny and granddad. Snooker was always on the telly in the 80s, wasn't it? Like my granny would be up on the telly, stopping the ball from Davis going in, putting her hand at the pocket to try and stop it going in. Like that's how much how fond she was of Davis back in the day.
Yeah. Well, you took it a level higher.
But what a player he was! What a player Davis was! Like Jenny.
Yeah. But you took it a level higher than me. We just shouted at the telly. You were actually physically trying to stop the ball with the hand. Your granny was the hand in the pocket for that. Davis is great, and it's only really when he stopped being so good, people realised what a good guy he was. Because we hate him. Yeah.
I know.
Hate him. Now he's so professional. We got fed up with him winning. But I mean, he's such a nice guy and so funny.
Yeah.
But and I suppose like most people when they're doing their job, you're focused doing your job. You're not going to be doing too many laughs and jokes. And it's away from work, you probably show your true side. But
yeah.
he wasn't as visible as we thought.
No. And Hendry as well was phenomenal as well. Very good, wasn't he? Hendry.
Yeah. And again, following on from Alex Higgins, then it was Jimmy White. So people didn't like the fact Stephen Hendry was now winning all the time.
Yeah.
And in the same way we got fed up with Davis beating Higgins, we certainly didn't like Hendry beating Jimmy White in all those World Finals. And
No.
he was so close so many times. An awful pity he never won.
Yeah, it was awful. When Jimmy White was great. Like he's still playing, isn't he? Does he still do it playing?
Yeah, funny. Only yesterday, he won the World Seniors Championship that was on. He actually beat Ken in the final. So that's 2 years in a row he won it. And again, it was played in the Crucible on the same table that they played a final. So the World Final finished on Sunday, and on Wednesday the World Senior started. And so Ken got to the final and lost 5-4 to Jimmy.
Okay.
So Jimmy won that again. So he's still playing. Ken and Jimmy, they're still on the tour as well. So
yeah.
Jimmy's still practicing hard and working hard. So he's probably due. And one of the main tournaments, probably a good run as well.
Yeah. No. So, but listen, thanks a million, Fergal, for coming on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Like, chatting to you about snooker.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I might just ask you a few quick questions before you go. I ask most of the guests that come on, huh? Say again?
Keep them clean.
I will, yeah. Very good. I'll try. So what was your favourite, favourite book? Do you read any books at all? Do you like any favourite book or favourite author?
No, I'm not great on those. More but I don't really read those kind of, we'd say, like novels or fiction. It's more, all my books are either sports psychology or sporting biographies. And one of them I read was one on Ben Hogan, the golfer. He was probably maybe my sporting idol. So that would be my favourite book, was one on Ben Hogan.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because it's actually a really good podcast. So you have a chance to check it out. It's called Changing Minds. It's an Irish guy that does it. His name is, oh God, I just want to draw a blank there. His name is Owen Fitzpatrick, where he goes through a multitude of stuff when he talks. It does a good podcast on sports psychology. So that's one worth checking out if you have time.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's very good. I love those kind of.
It's very good. Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Yeah. And what would your favourite movie be? Do you have any favourite movies?
Yeah, easy. Goodfellas.
Oh yeah, great movie. Yeah. I'm with you there. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Casino as well. Obviously, Godfather. But Goodfellas. It was only on there the other day. I watched it again. Phenomenal.
Yeah, De Niro's a great actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's my favourite. Yeah. The last few years, he probably did a few. He probably did a few comedy stuff that he just did for the money. But when he was in his back then, he was doing like The Godfather, Taxi Driver, Deer Hunter, Casino. Geez, brilliant. It was brilliant.
Prime, yeah. And Meet the Parents. Don't forget about that one.
Yeah. I like that now. The comedy.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
He's had a few duds. He's had a few duds where I think he was just turning up for a paycheck. But
I think so. Yeah.
In his pomp, he was a great actor.
Yeah, he could have played a silent movie. He still got paid for it.
Just the so sexy.
But what was your favorite? Do you have a favorite show or on Netflix or something like that? Do you have any kind of favorite there?
I liked House of Cards.
That was great.
And I love that Last Dance that was on recently as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
I used to love. I think they stopped it now, but on Sunday morning on Sky Sports, they have a program, Sunday Supplement, which is basically journalists just talking about what's in the papers and the week's football. I always watch that as well. And then Modern Family, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like with my daughter. She's 19, so when she was younger, we started with Friends, and then we went to Modern Family and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So as she gets older, it's getting harder and harder to watch programs with her that we both like.
I know, yeah. I get to that stage as well.
But generally, nothing too taxing on my brain anyway.
No. Very good, yeah. What would your favourite band be? Favourite artist or band?
George Michael was favourite.
Oh, class, yeah. Some songwriter.
Child of the 80s. Yeah, liked him. Oh, it's it spells like Elvis as well. You're getting older when you start really liking Frank Sinatra as well.
Yeah. Or you start answering all the quick questions of the chase when his name comes up in a question,
Yeah. Or or complaining about today's music that there's no words, it's just rubbish, it's too loud.
I know,
You
yeah.
know, you start sounding like your dad.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, what team tune do you walk out to, Fergal now? What?
Well, I'm about to change it. I had been walking out to Jump Around by House of Pain.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, yeah. Remember that? Yeah.
But I'm going to change it to "Sunshine of Your Love" by Cream, and it's only because there's a scene in Goodfellas where De Niro, that music playing in the background, and he decides, I don't know if you've seen Goodfellas, he decides he's going to have Murray whacked.
Oh
And there's a
yeah,
certain
yeah. Marty's wigs don't come off. Yeah.
So, because again, it's not even so much the song, it's only really the first 20, 30 seconds you actually hear. You don't hear the full song.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's a good piece of music. But it's not really it's not really being a fan of Eric Clapton. It's just a fan of the movie and that little scene where he decides he's kind of Murray whacked.
Brilliant, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so maybe one other question. If you weren't a snooker player, what other profession would you have went for?
There was no plan B.
No plan B, no.
Like even when it was
Or
in
if you could do
school,
anything else, if you could do anything else in the morning, what would you do?
it's probably a boring answer, but probably still be something involved with snooker. You know,
Yeah.
in an ideal world,
Perfect.
you know, if I had my own, you know, as I've thought about it, you know, at some point I'll have to retire and stop playing. But you know, to be either coaching, maybe doing the likes of the commentary analysis, if you could get that job on the BBC or Eurosport, and ideally if I had my own, obviously if I had my own club.
Mm.
So as I said, from 14, all I wanted to do was be a snooker player.
Yeah. That was great. You knew what to do, wasn't it? That was great. You knew what you wanted to do back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Great. That's just being fortunate, really.
Yeah.
And then obviously that I was, you know, worked hard and determined on it. But I mean, anything else outside that I always thought was still linked with snooker because I said, you know, so I'd probably, you know, me going for an interview for a real job would be a tricky, you know. Any work experience now. We've been to college now. So.
Talking of interviews, just to give you a good laugh, actually, Fergal. Remember years ago, I went for an interview in Dunn Stores in Rathmines, or Dunn Stores as a manager, you know. And I was only about 17, 18, you know, and walking in about 4 people interviewing me, you know. I was like, gee, I wasn't expecting this. So I put on my form that I'm a snooker player. I love playing snooker. So your man goes, so I see you're a snooker player, you know. What was your highest break? Don't know what I said. 147. I was just flustered. And your man says, would you not think you're going professional? Like, and
you oversold it.
I did.
You should have said 80 or 90, so he knows you're good, but not too good.
Yeah. I didn't get the job, obviously.
What is your highest break?
My highest break was, I don't know, about 15 maybe, on a good day.
That's all right.
Yeah. But no, and just probably one last thing before you go, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
Well, obviously, apart from here in Ireland, but toss it between maybe Florida, half the year in Florida and half the year in a couple of years ago, myself and my daughter went to Taormina in Sicily.
Okay.
So that was absolute. Maybe it was just the part we were staying, but that was absolutely beautiful. So half the year in Florida and half the year in Italy. How's that?
Very good. Lovely. The old country. No, it's saying good.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, yeah. But no, Fergal, thanks very much for coming on. And do you think, can you see more snooker clubs opening around Dublin in the near future, or how is that going, do you think?
I don't think so. And it's not necessarily to do with, you know, a decline in the popularity of snooker. Obviously, it's not as popular as what it was. As it was in the 80s, because there's more TV channels, more traveling. You know, there's Netflix, there's computers, all those things. But the big killer for snooker in Dublin was the price of property. So if you had a snooker club and had, because obviously they're big places, 16, 20 tables, and even if they were busy all the time, you'd still earn far more money if you sold the whole property, as particularly in the boom, 2, 3, 4 million you would have got.
Yeah.
So unless you were really committed and loved snooker, you know, people just sold the property because it made more sense. Because rather than working massive hours, trying to have the tables running all the time, if you just sold it up, flatten it, make apartments, businesses, you made a fortune. So it lost a lot of business that way. So, and I don't really see that. I don't really see a situation where the property prices will be going down so much that people think, well, look, I'll buy this property cheaply, put 16 snooker tables in it, you know. And again, even if you did have the facilities and the tables, younger generation are less likely to be playing it because I said they're into different sports or Netflix. So they're probably more keen to play snooker on the PlayStation and actually physically go and play it. You know? So,
that's
but
terrible.
it's sad. Yeah, it's sad. But hope in an ideal world, yeah, there would be more clubs and there would be more players. You know, there's actually 2 really good young fellas from Cork, Ross Pullman and Aaron Hill. One of them's on the tour next year, so they've certainly got potential. You can see them having, you know, long careers, hopefully. So,
brilliant. Yeah.
So there's some green shoots.
So what's next for you, Fergal? What's next for yourself?
The new season starts in the middle of September. Because again, obviously, normally the new season starts around June, but obviously everything being delayed with the COVID, and it's quite busy then up until Christmas because there's a lot of tournaments, and obviously the tournaments in China aren't going to happen this side of Christmas, and they may not even happen in the new year. So there's 9 tournaments before Christmas, obviously all in the UK, and again, they might even be played. Some of those tournaments might just be played even in the same venue. So it could be, you could go from the English Open to the World Grand Prix, but it's still played maybe a place in Milton Keynes because it has the hotel beside it. Because obviously, even playing in the World Championships, like when I first arrived, we got tested. We were in your room for 24 hours until you got your test results, and then for the rest of the time, you couldn't leave the hotel only to play our match. Okay. So you couldn't go outside or anything. So you'd probably find a lot of the venues would be chosen because of, you know, that they're close to a hotel and you can restrict all the travel and dangers of getting the virus and then also passing it on. So it'd be a little bit continue being a little bit unusual, but there'll still be plenty of tournaments to play. They'd still be on TV. They probably won't have any crowds.
Yeah, but that's good news. But still going on. Yeah.
So keep me busy. Keep me off the streets.
yeah. But I hope all your family and all are doing well in this COVID-19.
Yeah, thank you, and likewise to you and everybody else listening.
Yeah, it's a very hard time for everyone. Yeah. But listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on, Fergal. I really appreciate it, and Martin for organising it as well. You know.
No problem at all. The pleasure's all mine. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Fergal. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.